Good evening, guys, and welcome to this week's Live at 9:45. I bet you didn't think this was going to happen and you thought it was an April Fool's joke, but kind of was, kind of wasn't. It took me a second there. I actually just spilled all over the desk in front of me and had to manipulate what was going on before I could get things up and running. So I apologize for the delay. If something can go wrong, it does go wrong on Live at 9:45, and that's exactly what just happened. So anyway, this episode was supposed to take place last week on Thursday. However, my internet did not want to play nice. I have a nice video about that in the playlist for Live at 9:45. So if you didn't check that out, check that out. I think it's probably a struggle that I'm going to deal with for a little while here in the near future. And unfortunately, it is completely outside of my control. So bear with me and stick with me here, guys, because I might have to jump around a little bit on when things go live or don't go live based on how well my internet is being provided to me. So a couple of housekeeping items. If you're new to Live at 9:45 and you haven't been here before, please keep it PG and family friendly. If you don't know already, I'm a teacher and I try to make things that are informative, helpful, and respectful in the scale community, and so therefore please keep it that way here in what's going on. I also like to put things out there that I don't have to question the integrity of with my students. So if you respect that, I would greatly appreciate it. So back to what is actually taking place tonight. I'm going to interview Joe Garlak. Joe is a super cool guy, builds some really cool scale stuff, and he's got some awesome stuff going on. If you hadn't caught his interview from last year, it's in the Live at 9:45 playlist for season 1. You can go through there. There's lots of great interviews in there. I think 40 some of them. And I just keep kind of adding to season 2. I think we're on episode 14 or 15 now so far of this year. We've hit 1 a week minus last week, but we're doing 2 this week to make up for it. So without further ado, I'm going to work on bringing Joe over, and we'll get this thing fired up and running. So he's here, turn his mic on, and Joe, how's it going, man?
Oh man, it's going great. Going great. Glad we could get this back up and going. We missed out last Thursday, but here we are.
All right. So there are people who said, "Oh yeah, you wrote it in there, April Fool's no show." Huh? Anyway, I couldn't see the comments. I was trying to do so many things, but so for people who don't know you, people who weren't a part of like last year's interview or didn't watch that, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and so on and so forth to kind of fill some people in, fill in some gaps, and then we'll break from those traditional questions I typically ask of new guests, and we'll kind of go into more along the lines of what you're specifically doing and why and how and all of that.
All right. Well, my name's Joe Garlak, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been into the whole scale crawling thing for probably a good 8 years now, 8.5. Always been into RCs my whole life. Actually still have the original one that I got when I was like 6, maybe. Some Radio Shack special, but for whatever reason, it meant a lot to me, and I've carried it around forever and not really realizing how far I've come and where it all started. And but I did spend a little time with like nitro trucks and stuff like that, but it didn't really stick too much. It was kind of a
Whoops,
little side
went
thing.
to the wrong thing. Haha.
A little bit of fun, but I was always into one-to-one wheeling. And once I kind of realized it was costing way too much money, I found the little ones, and then that just took whatever money I had. So either way, I spent my money on something. I'm having fun, and it's been a blast ever since.
All right, so I totally transitioned to the wrong camera, so it was all on me and not on you while I was doing stuff, which is awesome. But anyway, now I've got them all wired up all backwards. Now I'm in the transition screen. This is great. You guys are witnessing me totally do a great job on the show. Anyway, all right, now things are lined up, so I can just hit one button. Sorry, guys, that was amazing from my end. The spilling of the drink all over the desk still has me a little wired, guys. I apologize. Anyway, let's go back to that. So let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing for the past year. What's changed? What's new? What's going on?
Um, there's been a few changes to the shop. I've kind of moved some things around to really just change it up visually wise. Just kind of getting sick of seeing the same old. So I came down here and moved some stuff around. But like throughout the winter, it's kind of been a little bit of a slow going. We've been doing some remodeling on our house, so things have been in here and in the way, and just been working out there. And uh, but now that's all done. But for the in the RC wise, like I haven't really been like I've been kind of picking away a little bit at the Jeep. I've been working on my son's truck. It's a honcho, but it's got a few different little things to it. I wish I could show you guys. I can't. And then I've been, as soon as I start talking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, stop. No, what are you doing? Um, but there's a few other projects I have going on for some other people and helping some people out. So I've been kind of really just bouncing around, trying to wrap up some of my little projects and maintain some. I did happen to pick up a 3D printer, so that's been kind of getting a little bit of my attention to get used to using it and just printing random stuff. But it's been it's been kind of slow going. I kind of enjoyed the end of the season last year. East Coast kind of really sets off the end of the season for me. That's really the last big event that I go to, and after that, it was just kind of like time to chill and relax for a little bit. I think I really needed that. Um, but I've been down in the shop still plucking away at stuff and kind of coming back from a little bit of the hibernation here from all the snow that takes over Michigan.
Yeah, you
And
guys had some snow
like
this year, huh?
yeah, it was bad this year. It just didn't stop. Like normally you would get a bunch of snow, then you'd have like some sunny days and you could enjoy it. This was just like beat the crap out of you, 30, 40 mile an hour winds all day long. It's just like you can't get away from it, and then it still just lingers. It doesn't go away.
Hmm.
But that's Michigan.
Yeah, I guess. Ours wasn't too bad. We had some snow here and there. Like we had weird amounts. Different, but it wasn't like a bad winter. Okay. So over the past year, you talked about East Coast, but you've also talked about like some of the other events. What events did you go to over the last year? And what would you say? Yeah, like what ones were like the highlights?
Okay, so one of my favorite to go to. It's a really got to be really quick on it to get in, and it's close to me, so thankfully, to go there is fun, and it's not too far of a drive. But I'm talking about Berkeley Scale Adventure Park in Canada. So that is one of the events that I had went to and been there a few times. And Dana and his crew, they put on like the scale mecca of trail type event. I mean, it is the courses are so long. There's three different courses. The terrain varies from anything from like pine wood, like forest, to wetlands, to hills and rocks, and it just you get a little bit of everything. And then like right in the middle of it, you get to have lunch that they provide, and they get your drinks, and there's a big fire, and it's nothing serious. You just hang out with all your buddies and people you've met all the time, and you're just driving what you brought, bring your coolest scale truck, and um, so that's always one of my big ones to hit because it's more about the trucks and the builders and just out having fun.
Yeah,
Um,
and it sounds awesome. So, like, what style of event is it? Would you say it's not probably like a Sorka
no,
comp or anything like that? So what do they have going on?
it would. I mean, I guess in a way it would be kind of like a G6 in a way. They have gates and there's trail markers, and if you hit the gates, you gotta you mark certain things down. So it's all by your own judgment. You score yourself.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just there's little challenges and stuff like that. So I would say it's kind of like a G6, but there's no rush on anything. It's not all G6s that I've been to. It's the top or like the fastest person. There's always things that kind of break it down, even it out. But I would say it's just G6 style, but very, very laid back.
Gotcha. Doug Lee says it's like the adventure series CM guys put on. So
yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna pose a question real quick to all you viewers before I pose my next question to Joe, and that would be, guys, what type of event is your favorite one to go to? Then along with that, not just what type, but like which event do you like to go to? Maybe in doing that, you'll post up something that other people haven't seen and possibly like pique their interest, and they'll be interested in going to check that out as well. Especially also if you're watching later on. And so additionally, because I screwed everything up at the beginning of the video, I just want to plug a couple things before I get moving. Make sure you check out all of Joe's links down in the video description. All of his social media stuff, including the stuff to his little like building I guess workshop thing that he's got going on. I don't know if I'd call it a workshop. It's kind of like where all of Joe's builds go. That's all posted up down below. And additionally, all of the links to my social stuff, so on and so forth. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. But now that all that's out of the way, let's talk real quick about what do you think your favorite part of the hobby is?
My favorite part of the hobby is the people. Getting out and going to an event, and you spend all the time building your truck to go and run like I do, just like everybody else, and then I seem to get there, and then it's like I'm seeing all these people that I might see on a regular basis if it's a local event, but I still want to just go and just mingle and talk about this or check out someone's new build. If I go to like our winter series that we have here, it's an indoor course, so someone might be running on course. I want to hurry up and get my gimbal out, and I'm like, I don't even care about trying to get my truck set up. I want to start taking pictures and shoot some videos. And then, towards the end, I'm like, oh crap, I got to go run my truck. So let's get that over with so I can go, hang out a little more.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the people.
Awesome, man. I would say that I'm very, very much so leaning in that direction, and it's been a big shift over the last. I believe last year I said it was a shift over the year, but now this is like my second year into this shift, and now like I'm much happier just with the camera in my hand, chasing down everybody else's cool stuff. And I like driving, and it's fun, and I enjoy competing and all of that, but I find myself spending way more time with the camera in my hand, like chasing around everyone else. So
same here, man.
It's a good time, and it's one of the things I really like about the hobby is that it can shift all over the place. Like I was super competitive for a while, and now I'd like to win, but it doesn't really matter as much anymore. So all right, so you do a fair share of building, and I mean by a fair share, like you do a lot of it. So what are some of the necessary tools for someone who is kind of new to like the styrene bodywork type stuff, to start modifying some of those styrene bodies, the scale bodies, as a whole? So what are some of the things that they might like really need to accomplish that and do it well?
Some pretty basic items. Actually just having this conversation with one of my friends who just got into it, and he's like, I want to start messing with this stuff, so what do I need? Point me in the right direction. So I kind of gather a few things here. I like to have a fair share of like different knives for different type of blades, different thickness blades.
Right.
You gotta have a nice metal ruler. And then I also keep this little one around. It only goes up to like 6 inches. I don't even know where it came from. I found it. But anytime I'm doing something really small, or really anything, this is like my first thing I grab to do any type of measuring. So that comes in handy. A nice heavy duty saw here.
So you were one of the first people that kind of turned me onto that, and I haven't snagged one yet. But I think I definitely need to. I have cheated a little bit and used just a saw blade. That has worked well for me, like a hacksaw blade. And
Yep.
so in just using the hacksaw blade, I was able to get like into some tighter places than maybe that would have, and kind
Yeah.
of accomplish similar things, I'm guessing. So
Yeah. I do have a. Sorry, there's comes with some blades I was going to show. I do have another saw. I found this one at Home Depot. It works good if I'm trying to get something cut deep.
yeah.
Not quite working. And the pack of blades that comes with this, or sitting like right next to it on the shelf, it it'll cut through metal.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3/16 solid rod in like 4 swipes. It's right through it, no problem. So that was cool. So I can like whatever I want. It's super cheap. But this one here came with two two other ones. I think there's another one floating around. So you get like a really nice, super thin pointed blade,
Mm-hmm.
flexes, and then you just get your kind of standard short one. So I like this one because it's got a little bit of an adjustability to it, but you can also get standard exacto and get your different
Yeah.
depth cut blades. Um, and then for the knives, I have a couple different ones. This one's fairly new, nice little rubber grip to it.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. And you're cutting with one of these. I don't know why I didn't get one a long time ago. Like this eventually hurts my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if I'm doing something, I sometimes I'll use this one that has a little bit bigger. It's all covered in glue, but just a little bit more to hang to there. And then you gotta have your 90.
Oh yeah.
Gotta have one of them. And all this stuff is really inexpensive. Um, if you were to go buy it all, you probably spend like maybe $40. I mean, I don't know. To me, that seems kind of inexpensive if you're trying to get started with something.
Right.
And you go out and you buy yourself a nice pack of blades, a knife, a saw, a couple cheap coolers. I mean, you could be sitting pretty good with, a good start. And then also too a mat. I don't really want to pick it up, but any type of hobby mat, whether it's one of these or even if it's some type of like a harder poster board type foam I used before, could work good. Um, you don't want to be cutting onto a metal table, ruin all your blades really quick.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then I would never be able to do anything without this. This is my friend, my best friend when it comes to building. I use this stuff for everything, to hold stuff down, to hold it together, to just anything. I go through more of this than I do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, tape, I've used tape for holding pieces together while I'm gluing them instead of clamping. I've used it to hold stuff down, like, so sometimes I'll use like the thread to get into tight spaces and do that thing, although that's tedious and a long drawn out process. If I've got something tiny that I want to do, I'll use the thread and go back and forth, and the tape it to the table, tape it to a chair, tape it wherever you can so you can get where you need to be. So
yeah,
yeah, tape is definitely a friend in this.
yeah.
Um
I use it to, even if I'm like doing a bed type work or something, I'll put a whole bunch of tape on it. Will piece the bed back together with straight tape, just so I don't have to worry about. I don't want to glue a tiny little piece together with a bunch of tack welds to try to make sure this is what I want. I just use tape.
yep. Yep. I'm with you there 100%. So we're talking about specifically like building with scale hard bodies, manipulating them and changing up the look and the function and how all of that goes. What are some of your preferred building materials when working with those?
When working with the styrene.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to see if I had. Normally, I have a nice little stash down here, but um, when it comes to anything structural, like if I'm making a drop bed or a floor pan of any sort, I'm using maybe an 80.80, or I'll just use a 60. If I'm trying to save on weight, I'll use the 60, but if I don't really care, then I'll just use the .80 because I want something strong. If it's going to be any type of structural support, um, then this like when it comes to little meticulous things, like if you're doing an interior, you don't really need super thick stuff. Um, so I'll normally use like a 30 or a 40.
Hmm.
If I'm trying to create shapes around something, I'll use a little bit thicker. That way I can kind of sand it down to get the shape I want without having to sand through the material and then have to, you know, patch it back in with a bunch of filler glue and create a big hassle.
Right.
Um, and then if I'm doing like straight body work, if I'm putting a bed together or something, I'll use 60 for that and put a good backing on it with a 40 or a 60. And then every once in a while, like doing stuff under the hoods, you can get away with like .20. Sometimes I feel that it breaks really easy. So I normally don't go anything under 30.
Right.
So from 30 to 80.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, so my question along those lines is, you had talked a little bit about using like a thicker styrene, getting close to the shape, and then sanding to size. Are you meticulous about measurement, or do you kind of like eyeball it and sand it to where it needs to be and go for
That can depends on how lucky I get.
it? Fair
Sometimes,
enough. I could do that. Yeah.
yeah, because there's times where it depends on really what it is. Majority of the time, I always give myself just a little bit extra because I can usually either cut it off really quick or sand it off. Um, but if it's coming down to where I really need like something on each side, to make something center, then I'll
Yeah.
use a micrometer. But if I'm trying to get just a rough, guess, I just use my little ruler, or I just kind of go for it. But like I said, if it's nothing too crazy, I'll just start cutting and then shape, sand, trim, whatever I got to do. So kind of just depends.
Gotcha. All right. So we talked a little bit about some of your preferred building materials, but I heard this rumor and I talked to you, so I know a little bit of the story, but I'm curious about this whole story where you have like landed on this very like sizable stockpile of styrene.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like how you've acquired this, where it came from, what you plan to do with it, etc., etc., etc.?
Yeah. So uh, for my job, I go to different places and I service their forklifts.
Right.
Um, so I just normal day go to one of the places, not really paying any attention, and as soon as I get there, right away, I can kind of smell like burning plastic. Um, Great, I don't like the smell of burning plastic. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna, it's gonna be one of them days. You get a place where it doesn't smell very good, and whatever. Let's get it over with. So I go inside. Then it's a totally different smell when I'm inside. I can smell like fresh plastic. So like styrene, just the feel of the bag. If you get a bunch of it, it just has like a plastic smell.
Right.
And I'm just talking to the guy, telling him where it's at, what's wrong with it, and he's asking me questions. What do I think? And I'm like, let's just go take a look at it. Just show me. He's like, all right, follow me. He's making sure I have all my proper, gear on and stuff like that before we went and did anything. And I'm walking and I see all these big giant containers. They're like big giant circle. I used to call them combos.
Yeah.
Um, from where I used to work, and it was all full of little pellets. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. And I'm like trying to listen to the guy, but look at everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to glance and I see ABS on one of the labels, and I'm like, all right, and kind of just walking down this long aisle, and it's just racks and racks of whatever material is going on here. We get to a point and he stops and he's like, it's over here, blah blah blah, and he's standing there, and right behind him, he disappeared out of my sight. I didn't even pay attention to what he was saying. Just behind him was just racks of sheets of styrene. I'm like, what is going on? And I can see, you know, I can just tell that's what it is. And I'm, trying to listen to this guy, but really behind him, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I could build everything that I've ever wanted with all this material. And so I finally start listening to him. He told me what's going on, and I'm like, all right. And then I'm like, before you walk away, is that is that ABS? Is that ABS sheets? Is that styrene? He's kind of looking at me like, huh? And what are you talking about? And he's like, oh yeah, that's. He starts talking about it and what it's for, and I'm like, all right, I'm just like looking at it. I'm like, I gotta figure out a way to get some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a couple hours went by. I did my thing or whatever, and I'm like, hey, before I leave, is there any way I can get some of this stuff? And he's like, well, we'll see about it. And I'm like packing up my tools and getting them out to my van and stuff like that. And come back in, and he's like, yeah, well, I don't know what you want or how much you want. I think he thought I was crazy. I'm like, why does this guy want plastic sheets? What is he doing? In my mind, I know what I'm doing, but to him, I'm probably just some crazy guy. And he's like, yeah, well, let me talk to my boss. Normally, we don't sell, to random people. It's got to be ordered or whatever.
Right.
So he comes back like 10 minutes later, and I'm just waiting there. And he's like, yeah, they say, if you got a card, they can process it, and we'll get you a good deal. And I'm like, well, what kind of good deal is a good deal? And he's like, well, it depends on how much you get. And I'm like, well, I'd like to get a lot. And he was like, well, you gonna get it delivered, or that's more fees? And I'm like, no, I put it in my van. We're like, I want a lot. Like, what can I do? Like, what can I get? So needless to say, before I left, I had like $190 worth of 4x8 sheets of styrene of 30, 40, and 60 thickness.
Yeah.
I had 15 sheets of each kind loaded up in the back of my van, and so I have a lot of styrene. And like, it was like spontaneous, spur of the moment. I'm like, I've always wanted to buy a large sheet of it, and I'm like, well, I'm going to buy more than one large sheet. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of it.
I always wanted to buy one large sheet, so all of them.
Yeah, I'm going to buy everything I can get.
Yeah.
So I got it in kind of, and I'm sure some people have seen the Joe Styrene Shack, which is where I started posting a lot of builds for other people, and just kind of little things that I've done in the past, and trying to get everything changed over to that. So it's just a little easier to kind of show things off. It's easier for people to track.
Yeah.
Information will be on there eventually once things kind of get rolling. But I am going to start, offering it to people. So if anybody's, looking for some styrene, I mean, you can get it from Evergreen, plastics and stuff like that. I'm going to start offering in certain sizes that are a little different. I'm going to start offering in a 12 by 12 square, or if you need something larger, you can get a larger size. If you're up to paying for the shipping of something being larger,
Right.
we can work out all that stuff out. So I am going to start offering it to for people to buy. Right now it's kind of just, I don't know, at a standstill.
Yeah.
I had everything in my basement when I got home, so we remodeled. I had to move it all, so I had to move it all out of the house. Now I need to get it back into my basement, into the other room here. So, but once I get everything back in the house and I start getting things up and going, you guys will start seeing things popping up and all that stuff. So once I get it all labels and bags and all that stuff, I'll start doing some giveaways and hook people up with some like starter packs. And kind of the ultimate goal is to give somebody a one-stop shop to come to get a custom cut piece of styrene if they need something at a particular size and they just don't really feel like piecing some stuff together, or they need maybe some hobby materials. I'm going to eventually try to get my hands on some knives and blades and put bundle packs together for people to, for
Right.
They want to buy all kinds of different stuff to get started, they can get that. They want to buy materials to continue building, they can get that. I'm going to make it very interchangeable, very optional, very user friendly. Will probably most likely be one-on-one with me. If someone wants something particular, just get a hold of me. We'll get it taken care of, and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's going on with that right now.
Yeah, which is awesome, and we're gonna come back to that in a minute. But I feel like we've been a long way into this, and we haven't done any show and tell stuff. So let's talk about something that's not the Jeep, because we're gonna talk about the Jeep in a minute. So do you have anything kicking around you can grab to like show off, tell the viewers a little bit about, so on and so forth?
I think. Well, I grabbed some of the Forerunner here that I've been working on.
Yeah, let's see that.
It's really dusty. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, there's no plaid and Forerunners, man. What are you doing?" I've got those messages already. So
hey, I dig the plaid.
I think plaid is rad, man.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but then you did an interior in a Toyota that I really like too. Is that in the Goldwing one, or is that in a different one?
What color is the interior?
Oh, it was like yellows and like pinks, maybe.
Yeah. That's I got that up there, but these nifty little sides here covers that big hole for the interior when it sits on the PF2 chassis. I couldn't stand. I was looking at the hole every time I would open up the door to that truck. I kept staring at it, and I'm like, I gotta do something about that. It's gonna literally drive me crazy. And it's like had 2 or 3 random pieces sitting there, and I'm like, well, put them together, and it was literally exactly what I needed.
Right.
So the joy of having the scrap styrene laying around is it can come in handy in one day.
I mean, or like 100 sheets of it, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what to do with the rear seats, so I kind of lined them up with the other front seats. To be honest, I was like I didn't know if I should. I think covering it completely was just too much.
Yeah, I like the center section. I think that does a lot for it. It makes it pop, and not a lot of people go there, so yeah. I think it makes it look really good.
I did find some really thin. It was like a rubber material, and they had it like black and white, and red. I thought about getting some to see if I could get it to stick and glue it on as like, the. I'm trying to think,
like the piping.
The piping. Kind of outline your interior when you're doing it. It's the doors on the. I can't wait to get this thing up and going, and
yeah, it's sweet looking.
It's still got, the door skin on the inside, so it has a factory somewhat look on the inside.
Right.
Now, Toyota. This was actually the truck that I kind of this is my first truck that I bought and narrowed it. Can't really tell too much, but
I like the layout of the scale accessories in the bed. Like, you don't have like 15 bikes and like a whole case of wood, or right. It looks like stuff that would be there, man. Looks good.
Yeah.
So
it's just missing a couple straps, to hold the cooler down and then milk crate.
Well, they just sit there. They don't move around in real life.
Yeah. He's calling to his buddies on his CB radio.
Sweet.
Probably stuck somewhere. Wait, Toyotas don't get stuck. The cool thing is, it's bobbed and pinched in the rear, but you don't really see it too often. I just left the front normal.
Yeah, that's like backwards.
Yeah. And you can actually remove the interior. Not holding on. Yeah, he's holding on for dear life. Normally I can slide the interior out, but
I dig it. I like all the little details. I need to do another build like that with all the details in it. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's I've got like a stockpile of different type of plaids too. I just like see some and I'm like, it's super cheap. Like, all right, give me a yard, whatever.
That's your like, it's your theme. Like all your trucks have a plaid interior.
It to me, when somebody walks up to your truck, they initially look at your truck and they're like, oh man, that's sweet. And then when you got some god awful yellow and red and blue plaid in the interior, they're like, oh crap. And it just kind of brings out some depth to the inner part of your truck and kind of
Right.
makes everything full circle. That probably sound like a weirdo, but yeah, it just makes, to me, if your interior is not like loud, and it's not what I'm trying to say, don't make it all crazy full of stuff, but if your interior can stand out to make the rest of your truck look better.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a signature, man. It's like it's something that you do that I don't see anybody else doing. So
Yeah.
you see a plaid interior, chances are fairly high that it's yours.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are rocking the plaid interior, the plaid
Yeah.
seats. So
Yep.
it's like your signature on your scale build. I dig it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you've been doing a bunch of experimenting with some adhesives for doing the building. Really into this scale building. You're really into modifying stuff. You bought a whole stock load of styrene, like more styrene than I've seen. And now you've started to play around a little bit with like how to hook it together. Let's talk a little bit about that and what specifically you use to adhere your styrene to bodies itself.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of left that part out of the tools when I was talking about that. And I realized I'm like, I didn't say anything about the glue. Um, so I've been probably for the last year. I might sound a little crazy, but I've been just really messing with different. Sorry, I'm trying to can't really get to it. It's kind of stuffed under my bench here.
Oh, you're good.
Been experimenting with different viscosities of glue. So a lot of people know I make my own glue, very simple MAC and raw ABS. Um, Now, when I first started mixing my own stuff, I was using just the plaster. I'd go buy a bottle of plaster, and then I'd use it for a little bit, and then I would add my ABS to it, and then let it sit. Little did I know, and I've heard everybody say, oh, we use MAC and styrene scrap. Didn't really think that the same material inside those bottles is MAC. So I started kind of making my own, and I realized I could get it, and spent a lot of time just. I had a few extra bottles that were empty from over the time of using. I just started putting various amounts in different ones and just let it go till it's fully melted. And then I would take a bunch of random little pieces of styrene, make a couple angles, glue them, let them sit, and I'd let them all sit overnight so they all had an equal time.
Right.
They're all kind of laid out on my bench, so I didn't do one day and then one the next day, and then so one's been curing for a week or something. I wanted somewhat of a consistency to my random science experiment.
Right.
So, and then after a while, I started finding, well, some of it's too thick. It's drying as I'm trying to get it out of the jar. It's too stringy, or you know, it's too runny for what I'm trying to do. And then I found that sweet spot, and then I kind of varied from it for a little bit to try to see if I could make it better, or if it was worse. And once I found a really good consistency, and I would use a bottle, I'd use the same one for, I don't know, a couple months.
Right.
And that way it was, being tested for being open. I'm using it. I'll set it in my tape here, and it kind of sits on an angle. So when it gets kind of low, I can, just kind of stick the thing in there, pull it out, do whatever I need to. So it's been exposed under the air, that MAC will evaporate, and it kind of changes everything. So over the course of time, it seemed to hold up really well. I never had to add it, MAC back into it. that I wanted. And after that, I kind of made a few more, and then I decided to why not buy a couple cases and make a whole bunch of it.
Right.
So, um, and that's what I went and did. uh, so some of this stuff in here has been, it's taken about, it's trying to remember what kind of, it's a high impact rated something ABS resin pellets is what it started as.
Yeah.
And it took 7 days, 7 or 8 days to fully complete dissolve into the white liquid that you see. So it immediately, when you have your pellets in the jar, you put the stuff in there, it immediately becomes one hard mass and stays a funny, slightly transparent, bubbly color for days and days and days. And I just jar it, let it sit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then this, and I've used just straight mech and tested it, and then used this, and hands down, this works way better. It's just got so many good, like, trying to think of the word. It's just got so many good uses. Not only is it your glue, it's basically the same material as the bodies that you're working with. It's
Right.
sandable. It doesn't make anything look funny. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about it melting the body. I mean, if you left a whole bunch of it on there, you probably have a little bit of, distortion. If you're scraping at it, yeah, you're gonna have some issues. But then if you really want, you can, make some thicker, and to fill in holes for, holes on the side of a body, or you got a big crack, or trying to fill in some type of hole, or something's damaged, or if you're building something and your gap's just a little too big, you can't quite get everything together. You use some of that, and it fills it in. And once it's dry, you can sand it. Shapes just like, if you're making a corner, you can make a corner. Once it dries, sand it all down. You know, I've had accidents before making stuff, and I didn't cut it right. It's all crooked. Sand it down, lay some of that on there, little sand.
Right.
You've never known anything had ever been done. So it's it comes in handy a lot, and this will also start becoming available. And if all goes right, there should be some other colors to come. So I've already been looking into getting red that can match the Marlin bodies, gray for the Toyota bodies, the K5 bodies, the Forerunner, or not the Forerunner, but the FJ bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow for the old Mojave bodies, or Mojave bodies. And then obviously white. There was one other color. I think it was green, because one of the JK Jeeps you can get green, I think.
You can get like an olive drab one.
Yeah. I think that's the color I was thinking of.
So
yeah.
I'm
Hoping to have, a good assortment. So if you're doing some repairs on a Marlin body and you don't really want the effects of glue being all over something, if you use that glue with the red pellets, then you won't have to really worry about any of the glue showing. You're trying to put your taillights back on, or put your mirror back on, or your door
right.
handle, stuff like that. It'll just blend right in.
Yeah, which would make it nice, especially if you're not someone who's into painting those original like hard bodies. And that's one of the reasons they come colored, right, from RC 4-wheel drive, is that then you don't necessarily have to paint them. You can just like use them and enjoy them, and then your scratches don't show up quite so bad. So
Yeah.
I could see that being a huge benefit.
Yeah, and then just would make certain things to me a lot easier. I mean, you could take a factory body, cut and modify whatever you need to do, and not have to
Yeah.
worry about any repairing colors or anything like that. Trying to blend anything together.
Right, and I'm wondering if you could also kind of like repair your body. So like if it got a bunch of scratches and things like that, which I wasn't really thinking of until we just started talking, but like
Yeah,
you could essentially like if you really wanted to take the time to do it, kind of like bondo it all back together if it actually color matched well. So that'd
yeah,
be kind
that's
of
true.
interesting.
Yeah.
Be a new way to kind of do things, but
Hmm.
all right. So I'm going to pose this question to you, but I'm also going to pose it to the rest of the people out there watching, anybody in the comments afterwards if you're catching this like after the fact. How many trucks would you say you have built to this point? And so there's a lot of guys, there's a bunch of people in here, but a lot of people that watch this show that have built a lot of trucks. I'm curious on numbers. I don't even know mine, so it always makes me curious to hear what everybody else has to say.
Man, never really even thought. Huh. I would say like trucks that I've actually built and not of like secondhand owned and and tweaked and stuff.
I mean, it
Probably,
depends on your variation of tweaked and it depends on your definition of built. And I think that a lot of people have different variations of that. And so whatever yours is perfectly fine for how you want
yeah,
to answer this question.
because I've gotten a lot of trucks and have been like perfectly fine and they're like awesome trucks, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna paint the interior, or I'm gonna do this or do that.
Right.
Um, but I don't really consider them being like something I've built. I've kind of like added on to them. But I would say, I'd say probably a good 15, 18, probably,
Yeah.
that I've like, either had a kit of some sort or have pieced together one of my own parts. So I'd say about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a solid number, man. For sure. So, and I'm watching people roll them in. Like I have a 4, a 1, a 2. I want to say my numbers in the I know I'm in the double digits. I just don't know where. I want to say like 12, 13, 14 range. Um somewhere around there. But nothing
It's
I
still
mean,
quite a bit, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, and honestly, most of my stuff has been like I'm a rebuilder. So like I'll build it, I'll run it, I'll enjoy it, and I'll tear it all down, rebuild it. So it'll be like the same chassis,
yeah.
same stuff. It'll all go back together in a different way and become something completely new. I've done that 3 or 4 times for some
But
of my trucks.
I've done that numerous times where, yeah, I've built something and then tore it apart, use it on something else, tore that apart, put it on something else.
Yep. I'm a
Yeah.
big recycler in that method, in that manner. I tend to recycle a bunch of all that stuff. Like I still have the chassis I had that was on my first SCX10. It's all crooked and been brazed too, and it's all janky. But I could put it back together at any time if I really wanted to.
Yeah. I've only got one original truck that's been around for like 7 or 8 years, and that's the my original tan Toyota TF2, the Uber Yoda.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've ever built that I didn't tear apart was the Tri-Van. I don't think that one's getting torn apart. So that's the only one I think I can commit that it won't be torn apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pretty unique to be wanting to, take apart to do something else with it.
Yeah, well, I just don't see how I could use all of it in another way. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about. You earlier talked about the fact that you have purchased a 3D printer, and so in purchasing in a 3D printer, like as a styrene builder, someone who works consistently with styrene, not like a little bit like of a like they don't do that, like not so good for you. Or really honestly, like what are your plans for it? Like are you just toying
Uh,
around with it?
yeah,
What are you doing?
basically just playing around. I'm not going to be doing any like master designing for by any sort. A buddy of mine had it, and it was a really good deal, and I couldn't really pass it up, and I'd always wanted one. In this way, really I can do like stuff for my kids. I've been sending stuff with to my son's school with him. Just find something cool to print on there, and I'll print a few of them. Like there are these cool little puzzles you could, you slide them in and out of each other, and I printed a handful of them, and here we go, bring them to your school and hand them out to some kids in your class, and just random stuff, and just kids really like it. They just get all kinds of random stuff, and then I can do seats and like bench seats and bucket seats, and I don't have to um, wait for something to get here. If I order it now, I have to be the right size, and kind of working around that. So a lot of it's just kind of messing around. Not that I'm not like doing it to not buy stuff from other people. Um,
Right.
it's for certain things. I'm like, hey, well, if I want to put bucket seat in here, well, what would it look like, or how big would I need it, or well, I wonder if a bench seat would look cool in here, or I might get something second hand from somebody, and I could just print a couple seats in there or a bench seat and throw it in there, do an interior, and then hook somebody else up with it. And I think just it's just all for fun.
Fair enough.
I mean, especially if somebody, there's a couple local guys, they want some interiors done. Um, just you guys want a bucket seat or a bench seat, find one on Thingiverse, tell me, and then I'll print it for you. I don't really care, and I'll put it in your truck. I'm not going to charge you for it. It's not mine. I just printed it. Film it probably cost me like 35 cents for it. You want your interior, I'll build your interior. You put whatever seat and stuff you want in it, and so kind of stuff like that as well.
Yeah, which is awesome, and I think there's a lot more of that going on now. I don't know what your 3D printer ran cost wise, but I feel like they're getting more reasonable. And so I also feel like there's a secondhand 3D printer market starting to show up.
Yeah.
People are either have bought them, used them, enjoyed them, and are ready to pass them on and upgrade or whatever. So like what used to be like you had to buy a new one, get into it. Now I think they're kind of like there's a secondhand market going on there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's reasonable to get into, to play around and toy around.
Yeah, well, there's so many new things or new models or new versions coming out, and there's some high-end expensive ones, and then there's a lot of them floating around that are pretty intermediate, and everybody's kind of fluctuating, and some of the really cheap stuff people have moved on from, and you know they're getting something better, and it's just like anything else. I mean,
But
I only spent like $160 or something like that.
yeah, which is not bad at all when you
Yeah.
consider I'm sure you've printed more than worth of stuff down. So
Yeah, I got a bucket of stuff here that's just full of seats and uh, crates, and I mean, I probably printed maybe 25 little calibration cat things for my kids. Like, they keep asking for them. Like, here, just print them out, whatever, play with them. They're just scattered throughout the house. They're like little landmines because when you step on them, they hurt
I
really
was just gonna
bad.
say they're like Legos. You step on it
Yeah,
and your foot's just annihilated.
yeah.
So
So
all right, man. Last year, one of the things that really caught my eye with you and really like, I just had to talk to you on the show was the Jeep you were, the interior, and really more so what was going on under the hood, the attention to detail there. Um, Talk a little bit about the progress on that, not process, and where it's going and how all that's going on.
all right. Well, it's pretty much exactly where it was last year. So there's been like a few changes that I've done to it. Changed some like leaf springs around and like suspension stuff that you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
Um, so tape everywhere. I'll just kind of show the interior real quick. It's a exclusive RC YJ interior. So the
Yeah.
seats and the dash and the door skins are all from him. Um, and then the little floor pan in it is the Ryan Luna's R3 scale design. So he has this cool little floor pan,
Yeah.
and it worked out. It's really nice in the YJ. So, and then here's under the hood. Everything's really white and really bright, but um, yeah. So it literally, oh man, this thing came together so fast at this point. It was kind of crazy. But you can see I got my own little brain. The intake over here. I made this. This opens up. I can. And you got your air filter in there. I think I got some fuses on this side. Oh, it's kind of hard to see, but it's it's coming along. It literally, I kind of cut the hood off and everything, and started just really just staring and like, all right, the engine's gonna sit here. What do I want to do? And made some quick inner fenders and like a little radiator support, and just kind of really just let go. And it's like, all right, well, if I do this, I go, well, I'll put this here. Oh, that looks cool. I'll do this, and then I'm finding random tube, and I'm like, all right, cool, and I try to bend it, it crinks. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. So I found some shock boots laying around. It's like, hey, well, I'll put that on there. That covers it up. Now I don't have to make another one.
Right.
And it's just like, literally just started just like, yeah, I just literally whatever I thought would look cool under the hood, I was just letting it roll. Had a few like images of like under the hood of like a Jeep laid out, but I'm like, I'm not gonna try to by any means get like super replica scale. I'm just not gonna be able to do that. I can get to like a certain point, and then I start to lose. Not, I guess it would be like my flow. I would just, if I try to do too much of a detail, I kind of fall off for a minute. I have to like step back. So,
yeah.
But this is probably one of the funnest things that I've been building so far. I actually just started bending up some smaller rod for cage and stuff, so I kind of took it off. But messing around with that because I need to really get that going. But it's on a GCN C-Max chassis.
Sweet.
Short wheelbase. I had using short wheelbase leafs to get the wheelbase correct on the chassis.
Gotcha.
I was using standard leaf springs, and it was just weird. It didn't look right. Your leaf springs were like halfway into the truck, and yeah. So I had some short wheelbase ones laying around, swapped them in, and it just like everything kind of laid up perfect. So I think in 2 weeks I had the hood cut around the grill and everything, the doors cut off, the roof cut off of it, the interior, and all of this under here that you see. I think I had it done in 2 weeks. Like on a Thursday night, I came down. So from Thursday, so really it was only maybe 4 days total. I was just like hunkered down here and just went to town. And after that, I kind of was like, all right, well, I made it to that point, and I just put it on the shelf.
Right.
I don't.
I have one of those going on too. I have a Silverado that I cut everything off, got started on it, great intentions, everything lined up the way it's supposed to be, and then like it's just sat. It hasn't gone anywhere. Which is a bummer, but at the same point, I know I'm coming back. So just when am I going back to?
Right, like this one was supposed to be ready last year for East Coast. Didn't happen. Not even close.
Yeah, that was my goal too. And I don't think it's gonna be ready this year for East Coast. So
yeah, probably. I'm gonna be right there with you.
Yeah. So I know I asked this question before, and I love asking this question, and I think that I'd like to also pose this question to anybody viewing it now or in the future, if you want to leave a comment, uh, who are the influences that you currently have in the scale segment of the hobby? And if you were going to pick someone to have on the show, who would you pick?
Hmm. Trying to think of who I've been watching lately.
Well, I mean, I know you were doing some remodeling and stuff, and so then, like, when you take a little bit of a like step back from the hobby, it's hard to follow everybody and what they've got going on. So, um, like me personally, I follow like so many people for this on purpose. Like I'm constantly scrolling through everything that like
yeah,
I know like this much of what's going on with like every. So
yeah. Man, I mean, I'm always watching, like Matt Cat and Noob and stuff, everything they pump out. But like, there's some people that are on they're on Instagram, and I don't even really know their names or where they're even from. There's just been a bunch of people on there um that I always see or follow if I get a chance. I'll kind of get on there and scroll a little bit. And
mhm.
I just can't remember none of their names, but yeah, it's kind of. I mean, I don't know. I follow so many people as well. So any time I do start scrolling through anything, it's just like, oh wow, that's super rad. Oh, that's real cool. Oh man, look at that. Oh, look at that. So it's like it's really hard to tell, like narrowing it down to someone that I've been like just one person that I've been following. Um,
Right.
and as far as having someone come on, I'm trying to think of. I could I can name a couple people, but I know they won't
Name them
come.
anyway. Name and shame.
So,
Tell them they should be on the show.
so Michael Blazer, he needs to, step it up and do it.
So I have an
Um,
idea for him. I still think he should be on. We've actually talked, and I completely understand his viewpoint and what's going on and why he hasn't been on the show. If you don't know who Michael Blazer is, you should be totally checking out his work. Fabulous stuff. Does fantastic work.
man,
But I understand why he hasn't like said, "Hey, Adam, yeah, I'll be right on." But I have an idea for you, buddies. So if you want to reach out because I have a plan.
he just needs to wear a mask.
Thinking
Can you blur
police
his
interview,
face out?
like
Oh,
all
man.
blacked out, like just talking, and then
Yeah,
like
that'd be
we'll cut
cool.
to like shots of his trucks. I don't know, whatever.
That'd be cool.
Anyway, so Michael Blazer, if you wanna do something, let's do it.
Yeah, Michael Blazer, and then there's Brian Pratt. He builds some killer trucks. Um, it'd be cool if he ever got on. I think he's another. He's real camera shy. I don't think he's really into having the camera in front of him
Yeah.
talking to people. Um, but yeah, those would be my two people right now.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you with a question that I've never actually asked anybody on the show, I don't think, and it's not on your list of questions. It's completely just something that I'm thinking about right now. Uh, so having done this both ways, where I did it on Facebook and now I'm interviewing on YouTube. When I did it on Facebook, you could see everything that was going on. It was very much like you were like kind of a part of a real life moment of what was happening, and you were very aware that everybody was seeing you and interacting with you.
Yeah.
Doing it this way, what some of the viewers might not realize is that you don't interact necessarily with all that stuff. Like you took an effort to do that. Like you're watching it on another device at times, and picking that up and following comments and stuff, but you wouldn't have to. Which one do you think is more comfortable as a guest?
Um. Well, I mean, for someone who is probably not wanting to or is a little leery about being in front of the camera, this way I could see being a little bit more intimidating. Because if people don't know, like I got my phone in front of me, and then like I don't see Adam or anything.
Mm-mm.
I do have my TV right here, and I have it muted and stuff, and I can see Adam and myself and some of your guys' comments, but I can't. I'm not just staring at it, so I have at least see something of what's going on, so I'm not just kind of staring into nothing. So, so yeah. So those of you who don't know, I'm just my. If I didn't have the TV, it would just be my phone, and I don't see Adam in any way. So like having versus Facebook, you're there and I'm there together, and you can see each other, and you kind of interact a little differently than you would this way.
Yeah.
But personally, I like this way. Um, the format I think is a lot cooler, interacting wise, and the quality is a lot better. Plus, I can watch it on my TV. So,
Heck yes, kick back and watch it
really,
on your TVs, everybody. Like, I understand if the comments section's not going off because you're watching it on your TV. You can watch it on your TV and comment on your phone. But my point is, like, it's got to be nice to do that. And I've had a bunch of people say, like, man, I just love being able to throw it up to the TV
yeah,
and not have to, like, watch it from my cell phone, like, this big. So I think that it caters to that a lot, but my main goal was quality and consistency, and until the internet problems over the last week, I've been able to throw out some pretty decent quality and consistency.
yes.
If I can hit all the right buttons at the right time. So
Yeah, this is a lot cooler. I mean, I've spent a little bit time in front of the camera doing Facebook lives and different stuff
yeah,
like that. So, um, it's not as it's not uncomfortable to be in front of the camera. I mean, at first it was like a kind of a little different. I didn't know what to expect, and then when we talked, last week when we did our little test, it was like kind of realized what it was going to be like. I'm like, all right, man, this is going to be a little different. Trying to like psych myself up a little bit, and I'm like, because I'm not going to see anything. I got to figure out something. I can't just sit in my shop here with the phone in front of me. So, and I'm like, well, duh, I can put it on my TV. Makes me feel a lot better. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, I like this a lot better.
Ah, I like this. So I'm reading a comment, and it's from Matthew Romero, and he says, streaming mine from my phone to the TV, and he can still comment on his phone, which is awesome. I didn't know
Yeah,
that was an option.
yeah,
So
that's how I have it. I launched it from my phone to my TV, and then I still have my I can I can join in the chat from my phone.
awesome. That's how you said it was an April Fool's joke at the beginning.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that was when I spilled drink all over my like almost on my keyboard and on my phone. Great. But anyway, back to what we've got going on. So one of the last things that I really want to talk about, not the last, but one of the last, is I want to talk a little bit about your gimbal for your smartphone. So I have brought stuff like this up in a couple of different episodes of Live at 9:45. But I feel like there aren't a lot of people out there with a gimbal for their smartphone. What do you think are some of the advantages of having the gimbal? And do you think it's like worth the money? Do you use it a lot, or is it kind of like a gimmicky thing and like you're like, hey, don't do
Well, I personally really enjoy it. Sometimes it seems like it can be a little inconvenience to use it. Like my phone is large, so if I have a case on it, I have to take the case off and
Me
put it in
too.
the thing. Excuse me, but that's really the only downfall to me is I have to take my phone out of my case. But to get it up and running is pretty quick and very user friendly. It's easy to handle. I mean, I when I do use it, I really enjoy it. I don't really get frustrated with it. So for what I spent on it, it's it starts with a F. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Is it the like
Um,
Zion one?
or Z.
Xeon, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the something Z something smooth Q.
Yeah.
And it was like $193 or something like that. And I kind of bought it out of whim, and I got it, and I've enjoyed it. And now I use it when I'm with my kids around the house. Sometimes we'll kind of mess around with it, or if we're outside with the bikes. Um, in my backyard, I have my scale course that I have been building, so I'll take it back there and shoot videos and stuff like that. So I've definitely gotten my use out of it. Going to events and stuff like that is really come in handy. I'm not running around with my phone trying to take a video while I follow
Right.
somebody.
And so if people don't know what a gimbal is, basically it's like a device you put your phone in or your camera on. I have one for each of mine. And you can move and it steadies everything, slows it down. I really enjoyed mine, seriously, especially when I was doing stuff with my phone, for short clips or for any video I did with my phone. My camera one doesn't work exceptionally well. It just it's something funky. Like I need to try and re-download the firmware and re-upload stuff. I just haven't had time. But it definitely smooths your footage out really nice. So that's what, when you see people like tracking an RC truck and it's like buttery smooth, like perfectly flat, like even all the way through what's going on, more than likely they're using a gimbal to get a shot like that. So
Yep.
that's why we have like locked into that and we're trying to use those. I'm not trying to sell gimbals to you by any stretch of the imagination. Like realize that they cost money. Then they're a battery powered thing that you also have to remember to charge and hope that it'll run the whole time and then get it figured out so it works, and then there's a learning curve and all of those things. But you're one of the few other people I know who actually have a smartphone gimbal that they consistently use with the RC stuff. So I figured it would be worth the discussion and asking the question.
Yeah, and it came with like a nice little tripod too, so you get a little extra. You know, I guess it's probably a good 7 inches long. So when you have it collapse, it gives you a little extra length on it. You're not,
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to get something, but you don't want to be too close to it, you can do it that way. And
Well, it's
it's
nice
got all
because
the
you can
little,
like hold it like facing the ground, and it will track that way if you're
yeah,
driving.
yeah,
So
yeah, and it's got all the tracking features in their app. You download their app and you get all the other features, and so you can lock on yourself, so I could walk around the shop, or if I'm outside or whatever, it can follow me around or my kids. And I did try it on the truck once. It didn't work too well. I don't know what the issue was, if I was too close or truck was too far away. I'm not exactly sure, but
well, yeah, and that was one of the big selling points for me with the one that I bought. So you have the Zion one or Zion or I don't even know, but I have the
yeah,
DJI Osmo Mobile 2, and
okay,
so mine again has that tracking, and so that was one of the things that really kind of sold me on getting the gimbal, because I was like, everybody's RC video is like set the phone down, drive your truck past it.
oh yeah,
And so because everybody's looks the same, I was like, man, what if I could actually just drive my truck and the camera would just follow it on its own? That's amazing. It does like an okay job of it. Not perfect, but it does an okay job. The one for my camera doesn't do that, so I haven't used that feature in a very long time, because once to the camera, like, and I really wanted to say that cell phones were the way to go and they're the only answer and like that, but ooh, once you go camera, I don't think you go back to a cell phone. Sorry. Um, it just, I mean, there's a place for them. They're amazing. They do a great job, and if you don't have a camera, they're awesome. But my camera outshines my cell phone every time.
I actually just got my camera back up and working. I haven't
Sweet.
touched it in, oh man, since like 2007, 2008. Uh, it's just been sitting in the bag. I turned it on the other like a week ago, and that battery was no good, so I had to order a battery and stuff like that. But
Right.
um, yeah, I got a, what is it, a Nikon D1000.
Sweet. I have a Panasonic Lumix G7. Fairly cheap camera. Mine is. There's no stabilization or anything like that, but it'll shoot 4K video.
Oh, nice.
So it shoots really nice 1080p video. It just doesn't do the super slow motion, so it doesn't do 120 frames a second or any of that. And it was very reasonably priced. I genuinely like it. I think it does a good job. I could see that I could probably do a little nicer work with a nicer camera, but you can always upgrade. It's just how much money do you want to spend?
Right. Yeah, I remember I spent pretty good money on it, and I mean, this doesn't even shoot video or anything like that. But
Yeah.
it's got all that stabilization and all that stuff, and I got a couple different zoom lenses and stuff like that for it, and it shoots really good pictures. And then I feel like anything that's kind of moving a little bit, it doesn't really like to pick up too well.
Yeah. Do you use all the auto features, or do you do the manual settings?
Do some of the auto features, and then in the past I've had like kind of like mess with some of the manual settings to try to see if I could get anything better.
Yeah.
Um, and I've got some stuff a little better, but then it just seems like it's kind of dependent on what I'm taking a picture of or
Right.
how fast it's moving, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so one of the things that my particular camera doesn't do well is low light. So all winter I've been using it to video and take pictures in what essentially amounts to a barn, because that's where we compete. And so it's been really hard to end up with like nice image quality and stuff for that. But when I
Yeah.
can get outside and I have like decent lighting conditions, I'm a little better off. So I don't know if that's kind of part of what you're maybe battling or not, but anyway,
Maybe.
we can talk about that later. I don't know if everybody wants to nerd out on cameras while we're talking about RC stuff. So, uh, one of my other questions for you is, what do you use currently? Like, sometimes you put out videos with your RC stuff, and I've seen a bunch of them. What are you using to edit and kind of move videos over to? I believe you have a YouTube channel. I'm fairly sure that I posted it in the comments section below. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But
So a lot of times it really depends on what I'm doing. If it's something that's if I have a lot of stuff into it, I will use my computer. And when I use my computer, I use Sony Vegas Movie Studio something. I don't know what version it is. It just updated like the other day. So whatever the latest and greatest version of it is, that. But if it's something like I've went outside and I messed around on my course for like 15, 20 minutes, and I got a bunch of random little clips and stuff, and I just want to really quickly put something together, I'll just use my phone and I use the iMovie that's on it, and I just kind of put it however I want on that, which is very simple to use. It really just kind of puts it together for you as long as you put it in the order that you want.
right,
Um, but I do like using my computer, Sony Vegas. Just uh, it's a lot more, can be a lot more difficult, but outcome is a lot better. There's more function, more adjustability, and all that good stuff. So, but if if I'm just trying to do something, to post somewhere, because it was really a cool shot or whatever it might be, now I'll use my phone. But if I've shot a bunch of video for our winter series event, or went somewhere and have a nice compilation of a bunch of stuff that I want to put together that look really cool, I'll use my computer. So,
right. Gotcha. All right, man. Well, we're kind of narrowing down here on the end, and I'm gonna let people go to bed. I got a whole nother one of these I need to do this week on Thursday. So that's with the Rust Belt Crawlers guys. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you hit that so you're notified when it happens, and like and subscribe and all of that good stuff that everybody tells you to do on YouTube. Joe's stuff is inside of the video description. All of his links along with mine. Go check those out as well. But Joe, to sum things up here at the end, like, what should we expect to see coming next from you, man?
um, you know, it's a good question because I don't really know. Um, I'm just gonna, spring is here. It's getting nice. Um, you probably the one main thing that's probably going to be more predominant than anything else is going to be my scale course in the backyard.
Yeah,
So people are probably going to start seeing a lot of that, and then they're probably going to be flooded with the Joe Styrene Shack, the glue and the styrenes and stuff like that. Here shortly, that stuff's probably just going to be flooded all over. Um, so those are probably the two big things that I'll probably be doing. As far as trucks and stuff like that, builds. I have a few things in the works. Nothing too nothing too crazy. I'm gonna build a mud dragster that's going to get destroyed probably because it's gonna go really fast and probably just break. Um, so that's probably gonna be something um, um, that'll pop up once in a while, but I'm not really gonna do too much with that. But yeah, so the Joe Styrene Shack and then the crawler course is probably gonna be some things that I hit this year.
All right, man. That's awesome. So we'll look forward to seeing all of that. And again, check out all of Joe's stuff down in the video description, as well as my links and so on and so forth. So unless you have anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to add, I'm going to let you go for the evening and then close out the show.
Uh, I think I'm good, man. I think we've covered quite a bit, and these people are probably done hearing me talk.
That's fair. So I'm gonna let you go. I'll close out the show and we'll go from there. So I'll talk to you later.
Right, thanks for having me on again, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So that kind of does it for this episode of Live at 9:45. I want to thank Joe again for being on. I genuinely enjoy talking to him. I can't wait to see the Joe Styrene Shack stuff. I can't wait to see what else he puts out there, especially with that scale course that he's got going on in his backyard. There was a bunch of that last year coming out. I want to see more. It's pretty awesome. I'm betting it's only going to get better, especially with his attention to detail and so on and so forth. To sum things up, if you haven't liked and subscribed and you're still here, please do so. That means you must enjoy some of what you're seeing, and we would love to have you back. Leave a comment below if you didn't leave a comment, and by all means check out the video description because all of Joe's links are there, my links are there, and all of that important stuff. So, I'm gonna end this thing like I do every time and tell you that if it wasn't for all of you, it would just talking to a camera in my basement and no one wants to see that. So I will catch you all on Thursday, like 3 days from now, with another Live at 9:45 with the Rust Belt Crawlers guys. So I will see you all then. Have a good night.